watch this or re-watch it. So, yeah, good morning, everyone. I love seeing some different names on our list of attendees. I always love that. So thank you for joining and taking the time this morning. I'm going to hand it over to Roger in a minute. Roger's going to be talking just all about AI and how we can use it to our advantage and what to be careful of and all of that. So if you have any questions, I'll let Roger handle if he wants them at the moment or in chat. But otherwise, yeah, let's get going.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thank you, Wayne. Everybody, I'm excited to be here. And as Wayne said, we're going to talk a little bit about AI. We've done another session that was more of a deep dive in that, but we'll touch on it and do a little bit of review. More importantly, today, I want to talk about your value proposition and how to make that intersect with the concerns and interests of prospective buyers and sellers so that you can create compelling messages, either video scripts or direct mail or what have you, in order to generate business. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is all about getting business, and your value proposition and the value proposition of ERA. You really need to have that down pat. So this is going to be interactive. I realize most of you have your cameras off, no big deal, but I'm very hopeful that at the appropriate time that you will, demute yourself and participate in the discussion, because I think we get more value from these sessions if everyone takes the time to contribute. I'll apologize in advance for sucking on a lozenge right now, and probably having to take frequent drinks of water because I'm still getting over this little cold, but it will get through it. So let's talk a little bit about the experience level of everybody in this session this morning. If you would put in the chat how many years you have been in the real estate business, just so we can get a sense of our experience levels here. Don't all do it at once, though. All right, I'll start us. All right. So Wayne, 15, Dan, 20, James, 34. James, you're the winner so far. Me, 27, Danny Bush, 14, Victor just started. Congratulations, Victor, and welcome. Libby, 15 years. Awesome. Kristen, 27. Samantha, 10. We have some great experience levels here. Edie, 19. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Tiffany Clark, welcome. 1 year and welcome to real estate. And also, Marshall, it looks like less than 1 year. So we have a variety of experience levels here, and that's awesome because that's going to help us when it comes to the participation part. I'm hoping that the experienced people as well as the new people will contribute to the discussion. So let's talk a little bit about the objectives of the class. First and foremost, defining your and ERA's value proposition. We're going to talk about that, how you can go about building that out, and then we're going to talk about leveraging that to craft marketing messages for specific target audiences. Then we're going to talk about how to layer ChatGPT into all of this in order to upscale your messaging and make it very easy for you. And then we're going to run through an example at the very end, which I've already done. So in case I have a technical failure with ChatGPT, we will survive that. We'll actually get through it. So let's start about talking about your value proposition. What do we mean by that? And right now I'm not looking for specific examples. I'm thinking more in terms of what is a definition of a value proposition. Anyone want to venture a guess on that? Somebody else turn their camera on, right on. I'm so happy, thank you. Anyone? What is a value proposition? Dan, I'm gonna pick on you because I don't have any volunteers here. Tell me what
Go
your
for it.
thoughts
Take
are.
it away.
Go ahead. What do you think a value proposition is? What does that mean to you?
Well, a value proposition from an agent's point of view is really selling themselves to a potential client You are selling what you can bring to the table as far as your strengths. You know, I go over with our agents constantly. You have to know your strengths and your weaknesses, because ultimately, when you're at a listing presentation, you better be selling your
No,
strengths.
it's no
and you better
problem. I
know,
just,
like,
it's the,
Hey, James, can you mute yourself? Awesome. So yeah, Dan, I think you hit the nail right on the head. It's your points of differentiation that make you a different choice. You know, what makes you the best choice to help that particular buyer or seller. And Kristen offered in the chat something that you can say in a few sentences that describes what you do and stand for. And I would agree with that as well. So your value proposition, that's your points of differentiation. And you really need to nail that down in order to craft compelling marketing messages. I taught a class up in Englewood, Florida on expireds and for sale by owners, and I was talking about value proposition. And there was this agent kind of in the front row or close to the front, and she had this very annoyed look on her face, and I could tell something was bothering her. And then finally, she just blurts out, "We all do the same thing. All agents do the exact same thing. None of us are different. We all do the same thing." What do you think she meant by that?
I'm gonna say
Probably,
I'm gonna say she doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. It's like,
yeah.
yeah.
She takes a listing, probably sticks it in the MLS and puts a sign out front, right? I mean, and that's really sad to me, because if all of us did the exact same thing, that makes all of us nothing more than a commodity. And what is the only point of differentiation then when it comes to picking an agent if we all did the same thing? If let's talk about sellers specifically. If every agent in every market did the exact same thing, what is the only thing a seller should consider when selecting their agent?
Commission rate, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, you got it, Wayne. Price. That is the only thing. A commodity sells at the lowest possible price. And if you commoditize yourself by making yourself the same as everyone else, the only differentiator that you have is the commission rate that you charge. And the only thing that a seller should use to choose you would be who charges the least amount of commission. So that is not what we want to do. That's why you should care about what your value proposition is. When you find where your value proposition and your customers' concerns intersect, and we're going to show an example of this before we finish, that is how you can create a prospecting message that will get them to reach out to you or want to work with you. All right, so we've defined value proposition. Let's talk about some specific examples. What do you do that you feel, and let's do this exercise in the context of sellers and listings. Okay, so what do you feel like you do best for sellers in terms of marketing their property? A seller chooses you. Why should they choose you? Anyone?
Professional pictures to start.
Okay, professional photography. That
Marketing on social.
the social media marketing. Excellent. What else? These are good. Keep going.
Communication.
Beautiful. Thank you. That is critical. Communication is one of the biggest points of differentiation. I will tell you that in all of the expired listing phone calls that I made and appointments that I ultimately got, the number one complaint from those sellers was lack of communication. More often than not, what I would hear is, after the agent took the listing, I didn't hear from them unless they A, wanted a price reduction, or B, at the end, when the listing was about to expire, they wanted an extension. True story. I would say that that's about 95% of the expired sellers that I spoke to. Their number one complaint is communication. So that is a perfect answer. What else? You guys are doing good. We've got photography, we've got social media, we've got communication. What else? Don't be shy.
Staging advice.
Oh, beautiful. Staging, right? When we're presenting the home to the market, the way we do that and the way we assist the seller in doing that will help them either net more or a faster sale or what have you. So staging, that's huge. Anything else? We talked about photography. What else? What else in terms of visual stuff can we do?
Offering open houses.
Open houses, absolutely. And Dan, how do you do open houses? Do you just show up, sit there at the kitchen counter and read the newspaper? How do you do an open house?
Well, a newspaper is so 1980s, Roger. We're in 2024. But, I've learned everybody's different in how they run open houses. So I know some of our agents will mail postcards on the street the week leading up to it. They'll have balloons, they'll have signs. I've seen homeowners bake cookies before to have that smell going. I always print off a number of flyers, presentation packets as well that I have there for the open house. So really making an experience.
So you work the open house. You don't just sit the open house. I've heard so many agents say, I'm sitting an open house this weekend. Please don't ever sit an open house. Work that open house. Do exactly what Dan just said. Either send a mailer, an open house invitation to all of the neighbors. And hey, Wayne, before I forget, would you help monitor the chat with me on this? Because there's some great suggestions in there and I don't want to miss those. So help me with
Yeah.
that. But to Dan's point, working that open house, getting it marketed beforehand, advertising it to the neighbors and inviting the neighbors, that's huge. If your MLS allows for it, I'm sure it does. Marketing that open house in the MLS will then populate that out to all of the real estate portals, right? Realtor.com, Zillow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you can describe and articulate that value proposition to a prospective seller, especially in your marketing piece, that will make a huge difference. And not everyone does an open house. Edie in the chat wrote, follow up on showings. That is critical. Oh my gosh. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to do another class with Wayne here, I think in a month or so on expireds. But I will tell you again, if you want a great question to ask an expired seller when you get the appointment, or if you're on the phone, I would always say, so may I ask, you were on the market for 6 months. Approximately how many showings did you have during that time? And then they, tell you 20 or whatever, whatever the number was. And then you say, may I ask, how was the follow-up on those showings? What was the feedback that you got? Again, most of my expired seller appointments, you can't see my face, but right now, their eyebrows would go up and they'd be like, what do you mean? And I would say, oh, when I have a showing on one of my listings, I always reach out to the showing agent to find out how it went so that we can get some constructive feedback. And if there's an objection that we can overcome, we can work together, you and me, seller and agent, to kind of strategize around that objection. So what was your feedback like? And then the seller would say, oh, I didn't get any, or I never had those conversations with my agent. And that's where you have the opportunity to take your value proposition, something that you do, that Edie had put in the chat here, follow up on showings, and layer that into a seller concern, something that this expired seller did not get. Edie also writes magazine ads. We run an ad, a full page ad in Homes and Land magazine out of my office, and we put the text ERA codes in there, right? And that's another one of our value propositions that we have here at ERA that I think is a point of differentiation. And Dan, I hate to keep beating up on you, or picking on you rather, but can you quickly just tell us what is the advantage of text ERA? How does that help a seller?
Well, text ERA is shown to be the #1 lead generation tool that ERA has. So that's why, again, we should be pushing this out to all of our agents. Our agents need to be using text ERA because it's so quick and easy for that potential buyer to text that number in front of that house and you automatically get the information.
Perfect. And so Edie asks a follow-up question here in the chat. How does text ERA and ads work? What info does it capture? So the way I do it, when I submit my ad to Homes and Land, I've got a picture of the property, of course. Then there's a description. I've only got so much space in this ad, and I'm only allowed 9 listings per month in there because of the magazine rules. but I will always end each ad with full details and photo gallery, and then the text ERA code. Text whatever the code is to 35620, whatever it is. I don't have that memorized, but I put that in the ad. Sorry, Wayne, you're laughing at me. I can see that. That's good. But I put that at the bottom of each ad. And you can go into your dashboard in text ERA, and I can see who's getting what leads and if they are responding. So to Edie's question, those leads will get directly dumped into their email, or they'll get texted to them. Correct me if I'm mistaken about any of this, Wayne. And they also get dumped into their Moxie. Is that correct? That's what I thought. So that's how we can capture that. Now, if you're on a listing presentation and you've got your property flyer, not that this is one, but pretend this is a property flyer that goes in the flyer box out front, and you've created that flyer out of home kits through text ERA, it's going to have that text ERA code on it. Take your cell phone, demonstrate how that works and how you get that lead. That's, again, a point of differentiation. What else do we have that makes us different than other companies or you as an individual? Any other suggestions? We've got Edie also added in there target marketing. So yeah, absolutely. You might do canvassing of a neighborhood or reverse prospecting through your MLS. That's a point of differentiation. Does your MLS allow reverse prospecting?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, most of them do. So if you're talking to a seller and they're asking the question, why should I list with you? One of the points of difference, again, your value proposition that you're going to hopefully do is you're going to, once you get that into the MLS, you're going to reverse prospect it to find all the other agents in town who have buyers for which that property might be a good fit. And you're going to reach out directly to them by text or phone or what have you to tell them about that property and maybe send them a follow-up email with the link and MLS number and all that other fun stuff. That's being proactive. Not every agent does that. In fact, I would venture to guess most agents do. That's a value proposition. What else you got for me?
Being educated on the neighborhood.
Perfect. Market knowledge. You have got to be the master of the market. And if you know your market, you know your market statistics, you know the neighborhood, you know the amenities of the neighborhood, especially if you're doing geographical farming, that makes an enormous difference in your ability to sell property. I have a brand new agent in my office I was coaching yesterday. Cape Coral in Southwest Florida, we're a big boater community. We got a lot of canals. Everybody has a dock. Well, not everybody, but a lot of properties have docks behind the house and they've got boats back there. Well, this young man served in the Coast Guard and is a sailor. He owns a sailboat. In fact, he lives on a sailboat. This is like the ultimate cool guy. I wish he was on this call this morning. That's the only uncool thing about the guy is he's not on the call with you cool people this morning, okay? But very cool young man. And I'm asking him, so, there's a huge difference between a boater and a sailor. Sailboat water in Southwest Florida is significantly different. You need deeper canals. You need unobstructed access, no bridges, no power lines that cross the canals because they have this big mast that goes up. So I told him, you know sailing and very few people do know sailing. You could send a targeted mailer just to the properties that have sailboats parked behind them and introduce yourself with some creative visuals and some creative talking points that talk about how you understand the nuances of sailboat property and might be a great fit to help them sell if they're thinking of selling. It's just a great point of difference. All right, a couple of other things. Matterport. Does anyone use Matterport 3D walkthrough? If not, check it out. That's a huge point of difference. Copywriting skills. I would suggest that Wayne tossed out the very first thing was professional photography. And we know the basis of all real estate marketing is the visuals and the description of the property. After today, you're going to know how to use ChatGPT, and I would call that an enhanced copywriting tool. And I would suggest that you leverage that in your marketing proposition. How about your sales price to list price ratio or that of your office? Have you checked those stats? Do you know where you stand compared to the market? I worked with an agent up in Punta Gorda, and her average sales price to original list price ratio, and if your MLS allows you to make that distinction, as opposed to sales price to list price, do sales price to original list price. That is a much more telling stat. I won't do a deep dive in statistics right now, but she had like the highest one in my office and the highest one in Punta Gorda at the time. The average was running about 94 and she was at 98. That is a huge point of difference that she can use in her marketing presentations. How about days on market? If your average days on market is less than the MLS average, I would be using that as a point of difference. We've already talked about communications. How about designations? No one mentioned designations, but we did talk about market knowledge. What kind of designations might you have that can assist you in being the best choice for a seller? Does anyone on the call have the GRI? How about their PSA, pricing strategy advisor? And I know we're focusing on sellers, but for buyers, any accredited buyers representation. I see ePro, right on. I see a GRI and a CRS, awesome. I would be using that as a point of differentiation. There's something else that we have going for us. We have it down here. I believe you guys have it in all of your market areas in the north. But that is affiliated business partners. We have access to in-house mortgage and in-house title, or at least I should say affiliated mortgage and affiliated title, as well as home warranty. All of those business partnerships that we have provide advantages for you in your business and in servicing your buyers and your sellers. Anything else anyone wants to add to the point of differentiation? All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to talk about how we're going to find what our customers' concerns are and where that value proposition can kind of interface with their needs. And the example I want to use is an expired listing seller. So when we first opened the call, we got a lot of experience levels here on this call. And many of you, I'm sure, have worked with expired sellers. So what is an expired listing seller's biggest concerns? What did they experience?
They're being disappointed again.
Okay, yeah, they're disappointed. Okay, so a value proposition that might layer nicely with that would be empathy. Okay, if you have an empathetic approach to an expired seller, that would be a good thing to help overcome that disappointment. They might also be angry. Okay, you are an ambassador of a business or an industry that let them down, and chances are they're not real pleased with salespeople, and you need to understand that when you're calling them or meeting with them, because they may share some of that with you. And I'll do a deeper dive on that when Wayne and I do the expired session. What else? If you were talking to an expired seller and said, "Hey, why do you think your house didn't sell?" What might they say?
They don't feel they were being marketed appropriately.
Exactly. They think it's the marketing. If I ask a group of real estate agents, "Hey, there's an expired listing. Why did it expire?" What are you guys going to tell me? 9 times out of 10, what are you going to say to me?
Ask that again, sorry.
If we have an expired listing, if I say, "Hey, look, this listing expired. Why did it expire?" What do you think most real estate agents are going to say? It's already been put in the chat. Edie's got it, right? Price. Right? Everyone's going to say price. But if I ask the seller that same question, Samantha she's already answered that. If I ask a bunch of agents, they're going to say price, right? If I ask the sellers, they're going to tell me what? You need to know the answer to that question. Why did the expired seller, in their mind, expire?
Their agent didn't do their job appropriately.
Boom. Their agent didn't do their job. And that might be what? Marketing. That might be communicating. That might be showing feedback. That might be they took pictures with their phone that were dark. backlit like me right now, not good, not a good scene, right? So there's a lot of things that go into why that expired, that listing may have expired. There may have been no advertising. And we didn't talk about this, but do any of you use video in your marketing for your listings? Like you just simply have a videographer take a nice video instead of just a slideshow with your still pics, but a real, 30 frames per second type video. Does anyone do that? Cool. That is a value proposition element. How about open house? Maybe the agent that had the listing before maybe did open houses, but maybe didn't work the open house. Maybe didn't promote it the way Dan's talking about promoting an open house. There's a point of difference there. And I'm going to check and make sure that I didn't miss anything in the chat. I think we got it all. All right. So Wayne, do I have the ability to share my screen?
You should.
All right. Let me pull up a couple things here. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right. So I'm not going to slide deck you too much to death this morning, but sometimes the visuals help. So we've talked about our expired seller's concerns. I've got two columns here, your value proposition and an expired seller's concern. So the expired seller concerns, let's review that again. There was no marketing, there was no open house, maybe there was no communication, there was no advertising, there was no video, maybe there was no professional photography. Perhaps the property description sucked, right? It may have just been a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, wherever. Didn't really speak to the emotions. There may have been no showing feedback. There may have been no market updates. And here's another one. There may have been no in-office showings. And what do I mean by that? No in-office showings. Have any of you ever heard, and I can't see the chat anymore, Wayne, so if anyone puts in the chat, if you'd let me know. Have any of you ever had an experience where a seller said, no one from your office even showed the property? Anyone ever experienced that? And I can't see you right now. So if you're nodding along or raising your hands, I can't really see you. But I have experienced that both as an agent and as a manager. I've had disgruntled sellers say, no one from your office ever showed the property. And we're going to talk about that in a second. There's a way to overcome that, and it's called our office caravan. And I don't know if you guys do this, but on the value proposition side, if you use professional photography, copywriting tools, and again, that would be ChatGPT. We've already talked about text DRA, weekly communication, showing feedback, weekly marketing reports. By the way, what do I mean by a weekly marketing report? Anyone? And you have to unmute yourself, please.
I would say just include, how many views it may have had online, how many showings, just kind of updating the seller on what you did this week.
Exactly. So Chris Porter, who's one of the top agents in my office, she had a technical glitch that got her knocked out of MLS for a period of a few days, and we were struggling to get that fixed. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's Friday. Today's the day I have to send all of my seller reports, and I can't do them because I normally pull stuff out of MLS and I pull stuff from here. And she's like, can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, perfect. Let's get it done. And so we put together all of her marketing reports, and you can pull reports out of Leverage as well that show you online showings, where we're getting the highest number of views and all of that other stuff. That is a great thing to send out to your customers on a weekly basis. And moreover, when you're in a listing presentation, I would suggest you bring an example of that from one of your current or previous listings that you can show to a seller, right? So that you can show it to them instead of just telling them about it. You can actually hand it to them and let them look at it and see what that's going to be. That is a huge point of difference, in my opinion, being able to do that. So market updates, and then monthly office caravan. That is something that we do in my office. Maybe not all offices do that, but we on a monthly basis, right after our sales meetings, we will go out and view all of the new listings that we've taken during that period, and that gives all of the agents in our office the opportunity to see the property and get excited about it. I have literally seen examples where agents will be on caravan in a house that they're seeing with the rest of the agents in the office, and they will call their buyer from the tour and say, you have got to get here this afternoon. This is the perfect house for you. And I have seen that result in an agreed contract. That does not happen every caravan, but that is a great story to tell. And it's a true story for me because I have literally seen it happen to share with a seller as a point of difference. So if you can take your value proposition and find the intersection of that with your target audience concerns, and in this case, in our example, we're using expired sellers, you can craft a great message. So I want to talk a little bit about ChatGPT. Wayne and I did a class on this not too long ago, and the recording for that should be in our library. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just a quick review of ChatGPT. That's an AI tool that you can use that helps you generate basically copywriting, and it will help you with your biographies, your property descriptions. It can help you with social media posts, prospecting letters, blog articles, and it will save you a tremendous amount of time. And the cool thing about it is the basic version, which is the only version I use, is free. So if you're not familiar with it, where you would sign up, that's item number 3 there. The URL for that is https:// and then openai.com. And you can set up your account for free. Now, the trick to using ChatGPT is understanding how to prompt ChatGPT to produce what it is that you want to produce. And here is the recipe for a good ChatGPT outcome. First, you have to assign it a role. Then you have to assign it a task. Then you have to give it constraints and or criteria. And we're going to run through an example of this here in just a second. And then you have to give it data if that's appropriate for your application. What do you need to be cautious about? Fair housing, accuracy, and content. Remember, you are the license holder, not ChatGPT. It's just basically, again, artificial intelligence. So you need to make sure that what it spits back out is compliant with fair housing rules, is accurate, and the content reflects what you want it to do. So if I was going to craft a message using my value proposition to target expired sellers, this is what it might look like. We'd start with the role. And we're going to run through this. I'm going to literally do this in ChatGPT in a second and show you how what it spits back out. So you are a real estate professional that works at ERA Cape Realty. Put in the name of your company, obviously. You specialize in marketing and selling listings that have expired in the MLS. Okay, so we've assigned ChatGPT a role. Next, we're going to give it the task. Write an upbeat, encouraging letter. You guys remember when Wayne said that the expired seller is probably disappointed. We talked about maybe even being angry. So we have to have some empathy in there. So write an upbeat, encouraging letter to the expired listing seller designed to get them to call you. Mention your company's powerful marketing tools, both online and traditional strategies. Next comes criteria and constraints. Mention professional photography. This is where we layer in that value proposition that we were talking about. Mention your professional photography. Mention your enhanced copywriting tools. And again, if you're saying, Roger, I don't have that. Yes, you do. You have ChatGPT, and after today, you can go in there and play with it a little bit, and you'll get good at it very fast, and you'll see how great it can be in helping you write property descriptions. We continue with the criteria and constraints. Highlight your innovative text ERA tool designed to generate buyer interest in showings. Mention your commitment to weekly communication, right? That's a value proposition you guys shared with me, including showing feedback, weekly marketing reports, and market updates. Mention that your office does monthly caravans. And of course, you can't do this if you don't do this, right? Don't mention what isn't correct for you. of new listings, ensuring all of our agents are out marketing your home. Keep it to one page. Okay, so that's what we did. Let me stop sharing that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Chat GPT, and I'm going to share that with you, and we're going to actually do the chat. So stand by one. Wayner, can you see my chat dashboard?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. This is Chat GPT. If you've never seen it, this is what it looks like after you log in. So I'm in the Chat GPT. This is just my browser in Google. And we're starting a new chat. In other words, I'm giving a new task to chat, and all I need to do is type in here what I want to say. And because I knew we were doing this beforehand, I went ahead and copied the text that I wanted to use for the chat. So this is everything that we just did in the slide deck, so you don't have to watch me type it. And watch what happens when I hit go. And if this doesn't work or stalls out, I am prepared to show you what I did yesterday. And it looks like it is in fact stalling out. So I'm going to show you what I did yesterday. Exact same prompt. And this is what it came back with. This is the letter it's proposing to me. Dear seller name, are you ready to turn yesterday's expired listing in today's sold success story? It's time to partner with a real estate professional who's dedicated to making your property stand out in today's competitive market. As a seasoned expert at ERA Cape Realty, specializing in marketing and selling expired listings, I'm here to offer you a fresh start and a new approach to selling your home. So we've already hit the empathy thing. At Cape Realty, we understand the frustrations that come with an expired listing. That's why we've developed a comprehensive marketing strategy that combines the power of both online and traditional marketing channels. Our professional photography that showcases your home's best features from professional photography that showcases your home's best features to enhanced copywriting tools that captivate potential buyers, we leave no stone unturned in our effort to maximize your property's exposure. But that's not all. We're proud to introduce you to our innovative text ERA tool designed to generate buyer interest in showings with just a simple text message. This cutting-edge technology puts your property directly in front of qualified buyers, increasing the likelihood of a quick sale. Communication is key. Remember, we talked about expired listing sellers not hearing from their agent, and one of your value propositions is you give weekly marketing updates, or maybe it's bi-weekly, whatever it might be. Communication is key. We're committed to keeping you informed every step of the way. You can expect weekly updates, including showing feedback, marketing reports, market insights to ensure you're always in the loop. At ERA Cape Realty, teamwork makes the dream work. Now, you may find that a little hokey and might want to change that, but whatever. That's why our office conducts monthly caravans of new listings, ensuring that all of our agents are actively marketing your home to potential buyers. And then there's the call to action, which is, give me a call, blah, blah, blah. And we can get the conversation started. So let me ask you this question. Was that a good letter? Did you guys like that?
I did. It's better than I could have written myself. So
okay. And Edie thinks it's way too long, and that might be. So that's where you can kind of edit it and cut it down. But in my experience, sending a letter to, and I've done this many hundreds of thousands of times, what you put in that letter will determine whether or not your phone is going to ring. And using your value proposition to speak to their concerns is the key to all of this. So again, the idea here was not for me to give you an expired letter. It was to show you how to use your value proposition and a target market's concerns to come up with crafting messaging that can work for you. So What I'd like to do is kind of conclude with the following. I think what you probably want to do, either in a small group or with an accountability partner, or maybe just by yourself, or maybe do it in a sales meeting or something like that, come up with your office's value proposition. Use a flip chart and write down those items that you do differently, and make sure that you are using that information in your marketing messages. Because if you send a just sold or a just listed or an under contract postcard, and it just says, "Hey, I just sold a house in your neighborhood. Call me if you want to sell yours," that's not going to be good enough. That makes you very much a commodity again. You really need to have your points of difference. And those of you who were at Fuel when Tom Ferry spoke talked about that very thing. So make sure you understand your value proposition. Then the next step, obviously, identify your target market and figure out what their concerns are and find the intersection of those two things. And then use Chat GPT to help you craft the message. And to Edie's point, if you don't like the message that it wrote, you can reprompt it by saying rewrite, make it shorter, and it will help rewrite it. And again, copy that text, paste it into Word, and then edit it however you see fit. So let me check the chat here, Wayne. I don't know if we got any new stuff. All right, good deal. So any questions before we close out?
Roger, I'd just like to make a comment on what you were talking about a little bit ago about using video. One thing that I recommend to all of our new agents, I know there's one or two new agents on this call, is I recommend for them to pay the fee to have that company come out and do a nice video with maybe a drone coming into the front door where the agent's there dressed up. I've had the guys in suits where they'll open the front door and say, "Welcome to 123 Main Street." And then they do this incredible video for just a few $100s. But what I recommend, tying in with what you talked about, you pay that one time for that first listing, and then you can use that as a marketing tool for all your other listing presentations, because you can show what you will do for the seller. And that's just another way to separate themselves from all the other agents.
Exactly. No, I mean, you make a great point. Anything that you do, make sure you're leveraging that in all of your messaging, especially for getting new listings. It's like if there are some beautiful property brochures in Express Docs that you can do for your listings, and they're not cheap. I think I paid 75 cents per brochure for a listing that we had that was over $1 million, and it was a beautiful home. So I paid something like I don't know, 75 bucks or whatever it was to get these brochures. And um the beauty of those brochures, I'm not going to go through all of them. There's 25 of those in the actual property before it goes under contract. But the remaining brochures that are left over, bring those on your listing presentation, right, to show your next seller. Just like Dan is saying, if you've got a video that you use in promoting your current listings, make sure to use that in talking to your next seller. In fact, you could put the link to that video in a letter. Say if you'd like, or a QR code to that video. If you'd like to see an example of how I market my listings, I invite you to scan the QR code or visit the following link to see an example of our video production, something like that. Again, it's a point of difference. All right, that was great, Dan. I appreciate that feedback. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. Wayne, I appreciate the opportunity. I hope this was valuable for you. Do you guys want that PowerPoint slide with the little recipe for prompting Chat GPT? You guys want that? All right, I'll send it to Wayne. Wayne will get it out. Is that okay, Wayne?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Roger. Obviously, great stuff. Huge. I've always been a monstrous fan of value prop. So I love mixing that in with with the idea of using Chat GP to help you if you need it. So great presentation. Loved it. So
Well, thanks, guys. Again, don't be a commodity. Know your points of difference, articulate those, use ChatGPT to help you, and then go after your target market.
Awesome.
Thanks, Roger.
All right, my friends. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye.